Hello, welcome to Sound and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I'm Tina. Today I'm doing a book review of Thrill Switch by Tim Hawken. This is a book that came out in 2022. It's a cyberpunk sci-fi. It's self-published. I read this book as part of the SPSFC3, where it is a finalist. I listened to this book on Audible. The narrator did a great job, except I wasn't super partial to how she did the one guy June's voice, but everything else was great and it was very engaging. Like all SPSFC books, I went into this blind without knowing the premise at all. I could tell from the cover it was cyberpunk, but it's still. I will say, though, I love this cover to absolutely no end. It's fabulous. There's another cover, this one. To be honest, I love the first one. It's so cool. It's far superior in my eyes. It's really neat. Dark and violent, with an ambiguous message and ending, Thrill Switch is nonetheless an exciting and immersive cyberpunk detective story. So what is it about? Detective Ada Byron is pumped to be assigned her first murder case until she sees the crime scene. Someone has been killed exactly the same way as her father was 7 years earlier, but impossibly he died using VR, and the program responsible is still in prison. To see if this is a copycat or something more sinister, Ada must confront her father's killer, the enigmatic Jaslyn Switch. What she discovers will change the face of both the real world and the metaverse forever. Where to start with this one? This book is quite violent. It never got gratuitous, but the book does deal with some pretty heavy stuff. In fact, if there's one word I'd give this book, it would be heavy. The good stuff first. The characterization is great. Ada, the main character, is beaten down, solitary, brash as hell detective with a huge chip on her shoulder. One might say she's a noir detective for the future. She strides that line between likable and kind of frustrating at times, but that serves to give her an understandable characterization. She was the star of the book, as she should be, and she learns a lot about herself while also never compromising what she believes in. June is pretty much the only character we see for long enough to develop into more than a side character, and I liked him quite a bit. He didn't have as much kind of backstory as Ada, but he was a great foil for her, as they worked well as a team, and and if you like the reluctant allies to friends relationship, you will enjoy their dynamic quite a bit. I was happy to see there wasn't a love story angle, actually. Jaslyn, the villain, is cool in a Hannibal Lecter sort of way, but I found her too lofty and not in the story enough to really be comparable in the sense of reaching Lecter's level of memorability. But she still was very cool. The other villains are good. We have a wide swathe of them in different facets of the story, some overly menacing and others subtle, and all are despicable in their own right. Like Ada, you never know who to trust in this book, and that dynamic was very well done, both with the allies and the antagonists. The action scenes in the novel are also top-notch. A lot of the book is Ada and June moving from lead to lead, but where there is action, it's well described, easy to follow, and very exciting. One of the best scenes in the book is when Ada takes down someone in the virtual world. That entire scene from start to finish was excellent and honestly could work as like a little short story. It was really cool. The world building made sense for the most part. The idea of attempting to regulate a virtual space was a relevant and poignant topic, especially today, though I wasn't very clear on where the story landed on that aspect at the end. Rather than seeming to suggest the issue is nuanced or choosing a side, it felt more like it waffled or didn't want to make such a judgment, which I found made the heaviness of the story somewhat unnecessary. Like, why make it so harrowing if you're not going to kind of make an argument? It also seemed like the story focused a lot on the doom and gloom aspects of the Hollows versus anything that might be positive about them. This fit the tone of the book, of course, but I was curious, if the place was such a dumpster fire, why anyone went in there at all? Like, why'd they let their physical body waste away in the real world when their virtual world seemed as hard to get ahead in as in real life? This is just a minor thing, and this is just a me thing, being an environmentalist, and this doesn't impact the story or my review for the SPSFC or anything, but I wasn't clear how virtual reality fixed the Earth, like everyone being in virtual all the time. The amount of power, memory, and server space needed to maintain and store the data for such a robust system would be astronomical. People don't seem to realize that technology uses power too. That's why you should always delete your unneeded emails or anything in the cloud, game saves, images, etc. if you don't need them. If not, it just sits in a server chugging away, taking up space, and that server requires power and cooling and all sorts of things that are actually a huge drain on environmental resources. Likewise, will Vegas, is it going to survive the next 20 years if the Colorado Basin hits Deadpool? I don't know. Still, all that aside, the world building made sense for the story and that it had clear rules and the exposition was given out at a good rate. I thought the The world building was good. It was great. I'm just a nitpicky person. The story itself is where the novel didn't hit full marks for me. I'm not saying it wasn't well plotted or that it lost steam at certain points. I was never bored or lost following it. I just figured out a lot of it too early for my liking. Certain red herrings weren't kind of red herring enough, I guess, for the twist to be completely surprising. So the ending was a bit of a letdown. I was like, oh, I kind of assumed all of this. One character even pulls a classic villain ball trope at one point that 100% cemented one of the twists for me. And I was just like, oh, okay. Yet overall, aside from how dark it got at times, the book is an exciting blend of Silence of the Lambs and Snow Crash with a great hit of thriller. It's really, really good. It deserves to be a finalist for sure. Also, given it's set in Vegas, there was a line, a frenzy of fear and loathing, that made me laugh so hard. I remember I was walking to get my kid from school, because that's when I listen to most of my audiobooks, and I paused it and I typed that into my notes in my phone, because I was like, I need to talk about this line in the review, because it was so good. I think that was the only thing about the book that did make me laugh. Check those content warnings if you want to read this. There is torture. In terms of the SPSFC part of this, so I have 3 more reviews coming through in the next 2 weeks, but I won't be providing my scoring in those reviews like I did in the semifinalists. I'm learning things as I go, being a first-time judge. I'll provide those in my wrap-up about this SPSFC, though. That's going to come out after the winner is announced in June, so I'm going to do a little wrap-up about that. But yeah, so I just hope that if you like cyberpunk, if you're interested in AI systems, and if you like good detective story, that you check this book out, because it is really cool. I really, really enjoyed it, and definitely check it out on Audible. It's a great listen. Thanks.